Hey everyone, it's Matt aka Tech Ranger, and today we're going to be taking a look at my load order for Skyrim on the Xbox. I did mention in the Coven of Crones video that I made some changes to make room for that mod, so I had to cut down on some space and I switched out a few things and tried a couple different things out. So I wanted to go over that in this video. The main things I added were things that actually affect combat and switch that up a little bit, some of which you might have also seen in that last video that I made for Skyrim. But don't want to waste too much time, let's jump right into taking a look at some of the newer mods that I added, but then also what I've done as far as moving things around. So I was messing around with mods that actually added sparks when somebody hits your shield. The first one I found wasn't my favorite, but what I did like was this dynamic impact mod. This was actually something that I had on for a while, so you guys probably picked up on that one. But this one has a patch as well to go along with it. If you use the enhanced blood textures, for example, the Lite version, which I do. For me, this is the first step in making combat feel a little bit more visually pleasing to actually be in, instead of just like hacking on a tree the whole time. So now when you get a critical strike, you'll see that slash like an instant feedback. It's one of those things where like it looks cool and it does have a purpose, but I can realize that it might not be everybody's cup of tea. Back to those sparks on the shield. I landed on this one, the Block Sparks by Devilsplay. This one caught my eye because one, it's visually pleasing, but it also adds impacts to when like an arrow hits the ground, for example, you see sparks. Or if you're hitting something metal, you see sparks. There is a version of this where you can add actual damage numbers to your notifications, which doesn't work great with Nordic UI, which is what I'm using, because it goes up in the top left, which can be kind of hard to see when you're actually in combat. But that is an option if you like Block Sparks. I'm just going to rock the regular version for now. One of the other things with combat and just generally moving around in Skyrim is the animations. I had the Gritty Animations 2.0 on, and one of the things I didn't like was when you were backing up, it just looked like you were gliding. In this one, it looks a little bit more natural, like you're actually stepping back, stepping forward. There's also some slight differences as far as the bow goes, namely when you're sneaking around, not necessarily when you're actually aiming. With Gritty Animations, it always seemed like my character was aiming down. Even though there was something below me, it was still like my character had his head in the dirt. With Leviathan, I can keep something like the vanilla animation for sneak. The main reason I went with this one was basically because it didn't include something like the Ultimate Dodge mod, which is actually included in Movements and Behaviors, which I do have in my list, so that would have caused conflict. I've used this one before, so I figured I'd go back and use it for the time being until I find something else. The next thing I did to make room for a quest mod like Coven of Crones was actually to cut down on some of the larger mods that I had. I ended up cutting the Monstrous Beauty bundle, not because I didn't like it, but just because I thought I was going to need more space. The funny thing is, I would have had plenty of space if I wanted to keep Monstrous, but instead I went with the Bella Beauty bundle to be on the safe side. Similar to the Monstrous Beauty bundle, it does a lot of things like changing hair textures, adding new eye colors, makeup colors, new facial complexions, all that sort of thing to make the NPCs look a little bit different than they did in the vanilla game. And it did all of this for the low price of 55 megabytes. So I'm going to test this one out. We'll play with this one for a little bit and see how it goes. I switched a few more mods out that I could save some space with, but then keep the mod itself. For example, like this Better Water, I added a 2K version instead of the 4K version that I had. I also moved a couple mods around based on the mod descriptions. I probably had them in the wrong spot. It's one of those things where if your load order works and it works fine, then there's really no sense in moving things around. But I just happened to notice when I was reinstalling things that Movement and Behaviors 2.0 actually mentions that this should be above your textures. So I moved this one up, and then I took something like Skyrad's camera pack, moved it to the bottom per the description. And I share that I made that change in the video just to show you guys that I make mistakes too, even when I confuse Dragonborn and Dawnguard, for example, with how much variation there is between different mods and what they touch and using them with other mods. There's really no perfect list, so there's always going to be things that you're going to be moving around and changing whenever you go and install mods. And sometimes that means maybe noticing an issue and then going back and trying to figure out how to fix it. Having a structure to your list is good, but there's always going to be some exceptions. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. These are just the changes for now. I will probably go back and tinker with some more stuff just because that's my nature. So we'll probably revisit this at some point in this year. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.
I may look the part of dashing swordsman, but I prefer the art